Welcome to No Small Roles. This is the show where I speak with fellow actors about their careers and about some of those smaller roles in big movies and TV, and how those roles are in fact not at all small for the actors who play them. Now, today's guest is my very first time meeting this person. This is Phuong Kubacki. Welcome, Fong.
Thank you. Thanks for
having me. Am I saying your name right?
Yeah, you are saying it right.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you for joining me.
Of course.
Now, I know of you from my very good friends, Michael Toe and Celeste Oliva, and they say you are awesome. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you.
Oh, thank you so much. I love them too. We all met on Clubhouse several years ago during the pandemic, and it was just so nice to get to know them.
I can't believe they're still doing that. They've been doing that for years.
I know. I really respect their commitment. And I was on there for a little while, but it's just, you know, the consistency was getting a little bit hard for me. But yeah. I still try to jump in and listen to what they're doing every week. And I really appreciate the stuff they're doing.
I couldn't keep up with it either. I think Mike was doing it at one point every day.
Every day.
I think he was doing it every day.
Yeah.
Easy. Is it still, but is Celeste doing it like every day now? I should know this as they're
they're doing it once a week on Mondays. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, every day was crazy.
Yeah, it was.
Now, everybody knows you from a lot of stuff. So I'm going to go through a list here. Dying for Baby, A Promise to Astrid, John Light, The Last Responders, Run, Hide, Fight, Dinosaur World, Dashing in December, NCIS New Orleans, Walker, Two Sides, Unfaithful, Chicago PD, Covenant, MacGruber, Chicago Med, Better Call Saul, Blue Bloods, Amber Brown, Servant, The Bikeriders, General Hospital, Reasonable Doubt, Captain America Brave New World. Now, again, that is just a few of them because you have like over 40 credits on IMDb. So I encourage everyone to go check her out there and on Instagram. But so impressive. So yeah, thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
Now, before we move on, there's the question that I ask everyone. Usually makes people break out into tears from just a few words of the question. But do you prefer grilled cheese with or without tomato?
Without tomato. I don't really like tomatoes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So anything like if I get like nachos or I'm always hold the tomato. So
wait, so you get like no pico de gallo or whatever with the
I'd rather have queso or guac than I would get, pico. So I'm just not a big tomato fan. So that's an easy answer for me.
Wow, thank you. That was you're my second one in a row that is very definitive on their answer. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now you, again, Mike and Celeste told me how professional you are and how smart you are. So why would you subject yourself to this business? Why are you an actor?
That's a great question.
Why would you do it?
Well, I think I held off for a really long time. When I was in school, I was actually really good at math, and I tried to go to college for business. So I tried to go in the opposite direction, where my parents, pushed me into like the more reliable professions and stuff. But it just wasn't there for me. My heart was just, more in the arts, and so as much as I tried to fight it, it came for me, and it eventually took over.
It stalks a lot of us. I mean, I'm an actor because I suck at math, so I'm like, I don't know what else to do. So, and then it pulled me in. Okay, so before we continue, we have this segment coming up called The Kiss and Tell, and that's where we share a behind-the-scenes story, whether it's something that rubbed you the wrong way or inspired you or left a good impression. In one word, can you tease what your kiss and tell will be about?
Yes. One word is memorable.
Memorable. All right. Okay, that's a good word.
Yeah.
Memorable. See, I can't spell either, so that's another reason I'm an actor. Okay, so you, from my understanding, because there's not a whole lot as far as knowing much about you on IMDb.
Yeah.
All I got from there is obviously all those credits, but also I learned that you grew up in both Illinois and Wisconsin, both at the same time.
Well, so I grew up on the state line of Wisconsin and Illinois. And so I was like, technically I was born in Beloit, Wisconsin, but 10 minutes across the border is where I grew up. And so I was always kind of going back, and like my parents got divorced. So my mom, she lived in Wisconsin, and then my dad, I lived with my dad in Illinois. So I feel like it was both.
Oh, so that's accurate. Okay. So I was thinking maybe you had a house that had the border going right through it, and you're like, oh, I'm in the living room in Illinois, and I'm going to go to my bedroom, and yeah.
But okay. Something like that.
All right. Okay, cool. So how do you, so you grew up there, you said the arts was something, you were good at math, but the arts was something that kind of was coming for you. Did you do theater as a kid back in both of those states?
You know what's so interesting is I was a really shy kid, and I had a fear of public speaking. So when I was in school, I remember taking a public speaking class in high school, and I was too scared. Like I had perfect attendance until the days that I would have to give a speech, and I would call in sick. And so,
Me too.
It's so funny because my teacher figured it out, and she's like you're all of a sudden sick on the days that you have to do something. So she's like, why don't you just do your speech at the end of the day? Like just come to my my room.
Oh, that's so cool.
Not in front of the whole class, because clearly you're not going to do it regardless. So she ended up passing the class.
And I think that, when you miss class because of, the stress of that, I think it actually does cause an illness to some degree. I remember like truly feeling nauseous. I'm like, I can't go to school today.
Yes.
Because of that.
Yes.
But that's so cool. The teacher let you read after everyone else.
After school. Yeah. And so I didn't have to do it. She's like, I know. She's like, you're a good student. You don't cause any trouble. Like, what's going on here? So I'm so grateful that she did that.
Yeah.
That was a sign to me that I didn't think that I could do something like this. Like I didn't think I could, if I couldn't do a speech where I'm just saying, my name and a couple things about me, how could I ever be in a theater production?
Yeah.
So that's something that I had to get over. And it took me a really long time to be comfortable auditioning, doing commercials even. So it was kind of a gradual thing for me.
But how did you know that was something you wanted to do, given that fear, knowing that you're not so great in front of people? And back then, how did you know that it's something that you should pursue, given that obviously your parents maybe suggested you do something else and that you were good at other things? How did that happen?
It's just something that like I've always dreamt of doing it. Like I was like a latchkey kid. So after school, I came home. I got really into TV. There were shows that just like, let me escape. And so I loved being on, being or watching TV, but I didn't think that I could be on TV because of that, and because, a lack of diversity on television. So, there were a couple things that I thought were, maybe in another world it could happen, but probably, not realistic. And in the Midwest, it wasn't really like, you're not around a lot of people who are doing it. So it didn't feel realistic. But for me, it was something that like slowly, like I started modeling first. Like there wasn't a lot of talking, so like
I wanted to ask you about that because I saw you had a post about Bazaar Vietnam, I think.
Harper's Bazaar Vietnam. Yeah.
Okay.
And I also in school I was like a dancer.
There it is.
Yeah, I was like a cheerleader, a dancer. So I knew I loved performing. I think that's where I really discovered that I loved performing.
Yeah.
And I could do things without speaking. So I was like, I know I can do these things. I just have to like figure out how I can start being comfortable speaking on camera and in front of people. And so, after a little bit of modeling, I started getting like commercial auditions, like slow commercial auditions and those things. I was like, okay, I need to start taking classes. And when I started taking classes, that's kind of how I also, started being more comfortable. But also I started doing a lot of like trade shows, and I forced myself to get comfortable like presenting on a microphone. So like
presenting, here's a car or a refrigerator.
I worked for like Toyota, and I would work on the auto show scene. So like I would travel with like Toyota for all like the New York auto show, like the Chicago auto show, and then you would have to give a presentation on the car. And so that was like kind of, another thing that I had to, like a bunch of little things like that. I made myself kind of, be more
forcing yourself out. Well, because it was a job too, right?
Yeah, it was a job. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did they train you on those jobs? Like for Toyota, we're like, this is how you will present.
Yes.
Oh, cool. Okay. So it's like a free acting class, while making money.
Exactly. And it was a really great like side job, like for acting as well, because you can kind of pick the shows that you do and drop them. So if I booked, a modeling job or an acting job, it was really helpful for me to have that availability.
That's great.
Yeah,
that flexibility. Were there people when you were doing the modeling and stuff were there people that suggested, hey, you should be an actress as well? Or was that something more that you're like, I think I could do that?
Yeah, there were a couple people that suggested that, especially like a couple photographers like, have you ever tried acting? Like, I think you'd be a really good actor. And me just having like imposter syndrome, like, I don't know, like maybe, like I wanted to, but I was like, I didn't feel ready, but it was always kind of like in my mind, like, okay, like, let me see what I can do. Maybe dip my toe in this class and see. So it took me a while to get there, but I did.
You find that because I know for me, the imposter syndrome, it seeps in often. I'm like, oh my God, I'm not as trained. I didn't go to school for this. I wanted to be a filmmaker. Do you find that seeps in sometimes still, or do you find that
all the time? Okay. I think the more that I up level, it's when I feel it. like maybe it was a different level like before when I was in acting class, and I felt, okay, well, these people are actually booking real jobs, and I felt it then. But even now, just recently when I was on set, like the Bikeriders, like there was a lot of like A-list talent.
Oof, that cast.
Yeah, like we've got Tom Hardy, Austin Butler, Jodie Comer, and I'm like, I felt it every
Michael
day.
Shannon, oh my God, yeah.
I'm like
that's the ultimate class, though. I wanted to get to that. Well, we might as well, since we're talking about it now, we might as well talk about it. So the Bikeriders, look at this cast.
Oh.
There you are right in the middle.
Thank you.
And there you are in your cast chair. You are in all over this movie. And I would say in a lot of the scenes with many of the men, you are the only woman in those scenes. Mm-hmm. Take me from when you first got this opportunity to how did you first get this opportunity? And then the rest from there. Tell me.
Yeah. So I got this through my agent, and it was 2 short scenes. The only thing I saw was, I think it was Austin Butler attached to it, but because it was such a small thing, and I didn't, sometimes when you get a big audition, your agent will say like, this is pretty big, but like my agent didn't. I did it as if I was doing any other audition. I didn't coach it. Like, had I known how big it was going to be, I would have coached it. I would have taken a lot more time, but I didn't. I just I read with a friend. We did a couple takes and I sent it in.
Did the side suggest how much the character was in the project? Wow.
No, I thought it would be like a day player thing. Like I thought I would be like in and out and, not a big deal. So I didn't really take that much time with it. And then a couple weeks later, I got a call back and my agent was like, hey, we want like in-person callbacks. And I was like, I was in LA. I was going to the Emmys that day. So I was like, I'm not available to call.
Where did it film? Where were the callbacks?
The callbacks, they wanted the callback like in Ohio because it was filming in Ohio.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm not available. So I just thought, when you're not available for that, sometimes I just think they're going on to the next person.
Sure. It's either meant to be or it's not.
Yeah. So I'm just like, okay, they probably just went to the next person. But I had, for the Emmys, I had bought the dress. I had hair and makeup. Like like the money was spent for this event where I was like, I'm not canceling it for a callback for a chance.
Exactly. Because we often, most people know you go for an audition, a callback, and as great as those opportunities are, the chances of us booking are, it's a small percentage.
Exactly. So I'm like, I'm not going to do that. And it was still hard for me because I was like, oh, well, when you get close to something, you want to see it through.
Sure, of course.
Yeah. But
life, happens too. And you got to live your life.
You have to live your life.
So after you turned that part of it down, what happened?
So about a week later, I got another email from my agent, and they said, okay, they still want to do a callback with you. They're willing to Zoom. So let's pick a day for you to Zoom and do your callback. And so I was like, great, like have another chance at this. So I got ready for the callback Zoom, and when in the callback, you're expected to do the scene again, right? So sure. I'm in, like the outfit I was wearing, the look I was, ready to present, and it was just the director and
Jeff Nichols, right?
What?
Jeff Nichols, right? He's so good.
He's so good, and
I love Midnight Special and Loving are two of my favorite movies.
Amazing work. Amazing guy. I love him so much.
Oh, that's good to hear.
But he came on. He was so kind, and he was like, "I just wanted to meet you and offer you the role in person."
Oh my god!
So I didn't have to do the scene. I didn't have to do the scene.
And you're like, what?
I know. And he just wanted to get to know me a little bit. And then there were a couple producers on as well. And they introduced themselves. And I was,
god!
I know.
Wait, at that point, did you learn did they tell you at that point how integral this character is to more than half the movie?
No. So they just said, like, we know that, the scenes that we gave you, like, it wasn't much, but just know that she has a presence, is what they told me. She has a presence in the film. And then they asked, is it okay if we do, something kind of cool to your hair? So even then, I didn't really know. They're like, we just want to try something, a little cool, a little different, maybe like a beehive. I was like, sure. I didn't really know.
I saw in an interview that is your actual hair that you would use.
And so they showed us pictures of the people that we were going to be. And so just looking at her, she was cool. Like, Gail was a fashionista. She had a little birthmark and the hair was sky high and it was a lot of time.
Wait, it wasn't a wig, it was your hair?
It's my hair, guys. Think this, but up.
I have a small clip.
Yeah.
It's obviously does not do it justice how much you're in this film, but here's a tiny clip of The Bikeriders. If I can find it, here it is.
You want to get salty, motherfucker? I'll get salty.
Hold on. Nah.
Boyfriends are getting into trouble.
Little food, little drink. Camp out for a night or two.
Help yourself.
I mean, that I wanted to show for a bit what the presence is too. You're always there. You're always there. And that hair. Oh my God. What? Okay. So they said there's a presence. When did you realize, when reading the script, that you're like, oh my God, I'm here. Or when you get the call sheets or what?
I would say when they told me, like, when they gave me my schedule, because I was there for on and off for 5 weeks, and I was like, this is not a day. This is not a day player situation.
No, residuals.
Yeah. So when I got the dates of like how many days I needed to be there, I was like, oh, well, this is amazing. I'll take it. So that was a really wonderful surprise to see. Just like
what an opportunity.
What
an opportunity.
Huge. Yeah, it was wonderful. And there were so many great things that came along with it. They had this book. There was like a photographer who took some pictures of everybody in their costume, and they made a book, and they were selling that too. So I had like 4 pages in the book.
Did you buy it, or did you get it?
I did buy it.
You did.
Yeah. And they gave it away too with some packages for the film and stuff. Yeah. So that was really cool. And obviously just the amazing talent, just being around all of the people there, all of the other actors was, I was just hoping that I could absorb their talent. I was energetic. I was like,
you must have picked up so much watching them.
Yeah, I did. Everybody's so interesting. Everybody has like kind of their own thing. And
yeah.
It was really wonderful to watch.
Was anyone kind of method? And
Michael Shannon all the way. He is all the way like in it, Okay. So sometimes I wasn't sure if I should talk to him, but I just would.
Yeah.
He's so nice. But you would see him go off into the forest. We were sometimes like, in the woods or in certain, he would go off and do some things back there, or he would go
Wow.
out and, you know, like, and you're like, oh, Michael's just doing his thing. Like,
I can't imagine. I worked with him on George and Tammy. And after we shot this scene, I approached him and I was like, oh, he's in character. Okay. Very cool.
Yes.
But he was nice, but in character.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
interesting.
He was. Mhm.
Wow. But like Tom Hardy, it's
Awesome.
just
Yeah.
amazing.
Amazing. And it was really great to even just see him before a scene. He would just be running his lines, just like, you know, saying in a couple different ways. Like, and you're like, oh, he's just like us.
That's
just
how we do it.
Running his line. Yeah, I'm like, we do that too.
We're humans. What?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Mm-hmm.
So you were on that for like 5 weeks. So then it eventually, how long between when you wrapped and then when it finally came out? Because I see on IMDb, I think it's listed as 2023, but I think it did come out last summer. I saw it, I think, opening day. And Mike's like, Mike Toe, he's like, hey, check out my friend Fong. She's in this movie. And then I was like, wow, she is in this movie.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I think it was because there was a strike. And so because of the strike, they delayed. I don't know if you remember that, but
I do.
The strike delayed the premiere of it. I think it was supposed to come out in the winter.
Good. I'm glad they held off on the premiere so you got to do it, because Celeste had Exorcist in that time and it didn't get a real premiere. It was like a screening, which was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, so I'm glad that they did that because they were able to push it, and I felt like the weather was a little bit nicer because it was in June. So it seemed to have a really nice turnout.
Good.
Yeah.
It's such a cool film. It's very different. It's not
very different.
Yeah, it's almost told in flashbacks, and it's not like there's not, I don't know, it's not really a story that propels it forward. It's just sort of like clips of a lifestyle. It's very interesting.
Very interesting, and it was so gritty. It's not something that I was really comfortable with at first because they didn't want a lot of makeup. They wanted it to be really, really gritty. So
I mean, real, but I mean, you look good.
Thank you. But yeah, it was like, it was really cool wardrobe too. So that was fun, so it was just a whole different experience, especially because it was a period piece and they tried to get everything right, and they did.
Was it hard? So after all these weeks of doing this project and having come, because I think like you or like me, you do a bunch of roles, you go in, it's usually like someone else's, I always say a Thanksgiving dinner where you go there, everyone knows each other really well, but you come in for a day or two and then you just start to get comfortable and then it's over. But this, given all the time you had on it, the level of comfort must have been amazing, and being a part of the family.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think in the beginning, you're kind of like, oh, like, hi, but
yeah, sure.
After a while, I started to feel really comfortable with everyone, and everybody was so nice and welcoming. So I think it really has a lot to do with, the director, the leads, and the people, in charge. And I'm really thankful for that.
Is it harder, given that opportunity, to go on to other projects where, of course, I mean, this is such a rare opportunity that you had to go on to other projects where you don't get that amount of time, or you're like, oh, I missed that opportunity where, I was part of the family. Is that difficult for you? Or you're like, you know what to look forward to down the road again?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's kind of the life when you are, in a smaller role. You're jumping from set to set, and it's always a new environment. There's always new people, so you're kind of adjusting to it. And some are more welcoming than others. So it just gives me a little bit more appreciation for the time that I have on sets that are really comfortable.
Did you find that there was a freedom working with Jeff Nichols on that set to improv a bit, or just kind of feel at home? Or did you feel it was sort of regimented? Because sometimes like network TV, it's very, you do this, you do that, you're out of here. Did you feel a sense of freedom?
Yeah, here and there. I think, Jeff definitely has like an idea of what he wants. And so he'll try it a bunch of different ways, but he has like specific things in mind, and he tries to keep it towards that, towards his vision, which I can appreciate, if you have a vision and you really want to execute that.
Now I'm going to back way back.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you're in Wisconsin and Illinois.
Yeah.
When do you, at some point you end up working on The Kingdom, and if is that background?
Oh yeah, I was just an extra on that. I was just like,
but how do you
just,
yeah. how did you get there? I mean, because you're in Wisconsin and Illinois, and then you're on The Kingdom. And I know it's background. There's no shame in that. That's how we start and get to know a set.
So that was actually shot in Arizona.
Okay.
And so I was living in Arizona at the time then.
Okay.
And I think there was just and by then I was modeling, doing work, lifestyle, and like some commercial stuff. And so through my agent, they said, if anybody wants to be an extra for this, sign up and we'll submit you. So I did that. And that was like the first time to be on a major set.
Yeah, that's a huge set too. Peter Berg, right?
Yeah. So that was really, really cool because I had never been on a set of that scale before. So it was really eye-opening.
And that was 2007.
Yeah.
And then I saw between 2007 to about 2019, there's sporadic work. But once 2019 hits, you haven't stopped. 2019 to 2021, it's heating up. But 2021, tons of huge projects at that point on to now.
Yeah. So I think from being on that set, that's when I kind of felt like, yeah, I would love to be, to be an actor and to focus on speaking lines. And so that's when I really started studying and getting into class to, try and actually book work,
Did you have so you had agents for modeling and stuff. Did you have an acting agent at that point?
The ones I had were mostly commercial focused. I didn't really get a lot of theatrical work, but I think towards maybe 2017, I got an LA agent, and they were primarily a commercial agent, but they would get theatrical auditions, sometimes for bigger roles and stuff. And so I would occasionally get a theatrical audition, which I don't know if I really felt, that's when I was like, okay, I need to work on auditioning. I kind of have I took a couple random acting classes, but I need to really focus on honing my auditioning skills.
And this is when auditions are in person.
They were in person. So when I would get an audition, I would have to go in person, and I would see a long line of girls who looked just like me. It was so intimidating. And I was like, okay, this is okay, I really need to step it up. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how did you get that agent? Because I know a lot of people are always like, how do you get that agent? How do I get an agent in the business? So going from your modeling to getting this commercial agent, how'd you get there? Because that's not easy to get an agent.
Yeah, I think in smaller markets, the modeling and the commercial stuff is a little bit easier. If I focused on just having good pictures and, and then I remember one of my agents, they wanted you to do a monologue. So I worked on that to get signed with my first agent. And then the LA one, it's kind of similar. It's the expectations for commercials is not, they'll just have you kind of read a scene, which I felt because I did, some hosting and stuff like that I was able to do that. So it was easy for me just going in commercially or as a print model. And also because back then there weren't a lot of Asian talent. And so once I was one of 3 at my agency. So I think the requirements were maybe a little bit more forgiving when they need your type. Mm-hmm.
Do you find, because I know in maybe the past couple of years, opportunities, there's been more opportunities including diversity. At that point, did you feel that they were there yet? Or was it still kind of making that turn to getting a little bit better?
Yeah, I think it depended on the market. So in LA, there were tons, and so, but then, in Arizona, there was not that many. And then in Chicago, there was a few more.
Yeah.
So it just kind of depends on the market of where you are. And I think, and also the quality, the level of agent that you have too. So
Sure, of course.
The LA agent I signed was with like a small boutique. It wasn't like one of the big, big
Which is also nice because you get some more attention that you might not from a bigger agency.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know if you know, I interviewed my sister-in-law a few episodes back, and she was the State Farm girl that reaches for the dollar in a like a.
I watched her interview. Store. Yeah.
And that was like her bread and butter for years because that thing ran forever. Like how amazing.
Amazing. Yeah. Those commercials can really pay well. So
I don't get those.
But do you try to audition for them? Is that something that you pursue or not really?
Not so much. I mean, I would do them, but I mean, I'm not I'm not like the buff guy, or I'm kind of old. I know I'm getting old, but my mom said not to say I'm old on here.
Oh.
But I'm getting old, Mom. Sorry. Okay, so you start getting those principal roles start trickling in. So at what point, I need to know about Dinosaur World.
That's so interesting. That was another audition. And that filmed in Oklahoma. It was the first job I'd ever even booked in Oklahoma. And they, it was so, I didn't even know there was a market in Oklahoma. And that's when I really discovered that Oklahoma has like a small tax incentive and that there is filming in Oklahoma. But it was really cool. There was a lot of CGI. And so a lot of the acting that we were doing was to nothing, to pretending. And then, there were a couple like small little stunts that we did, like when I die or fall, that
I didn't see that. I only saw your opening. I think it was your opening scene in like a bar or something.
Oh yeah.
Which I have a clip if you don't mind me saying. You mind?
Go
Let's go. But I want to ask you because it seems.
I think it's dubbed in Chinese though too. I don't know if you found
Well, that's online on IMDb says it's in Mandarin, but watching you speak, it sounds like your mouth looks like.
So I dubbed myself. It was really weird because it was for the Chinese market. Okay. But then they ended up bringing it to America. And so they were having people like dub the, like their dub, the Chinese, but then they're like, because you're here and,
cool.
Yeah, you can do it. And if you're, whatever, if you're in LA, and I was like, oh yeah. Like, and so they just had me come in and dub myself, even though I was already saying the lines.
It's so weird because it does look dubbed, but it looks like you're speaking English because you were.
Yeah.
But the guy you're talking to on the phone, it doesn't sound like that's his voice, but here,
Right.
It was easy. I hacked into their system and left a little subroutine. It's a recursive operation that submits our names with a callback frequency of every 5 seconds.
Wow. Calling me impressed.
It was nothing.
That will guarantee we win the $5 million.
Well, 5 million split 2 ways is even better.
Wow. I wish I had the dinosaur stuff too. Yeah. But it's so strange to see him talking, and I'm like,
yeah, because he was speaking in Chinese, and then they dubbed him in English. I don't know what was going on.
What a cool job, though.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool.
So from there, you start getting some pretty nice size network shows.
Yeah.
How did so the opportunity started rolling in, you're getting some principal roles. Were you getting very confident? Are you still training?
Yeah.
Where are you at this point in your head?
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting a little more confident, but I'm always training. Like I always feel like, especially because there are different genres, like one, might have been a procedural and one might have been, like I still don't really feel completely confident in comedy. So I'm always, trading that. But yeah, like there's always like a streak of confidence, but then also I can, because I am always kind of like watching my stuff and critiquing my stuff, I can kind of pinpoint things that I feel could be better. So a little bit of both.
We all do that. We all do that. You can see when you look back at your footage. I know for me, I'll look at it and be like, I know exactly what I was thinking in that moment. And I was doubting myself when I was saying that line. So it's, yeah, we're always doing that to ourselves.
Yeah.
Okay, so you start getting the network stuff. So you got Chicago Med, I believe.
Chicago Med and Chicago PD.
I saw you play a lot of reporters.
Yeah, reporters are like they're like my niche.
Is there a reason for that, or they just see you as a reporter?
Well, I think a little bit of both. I think the reason could be, you know, Connie Chung leading the way for, you know, and I think a lot of people have that in their mind as a reporter. But also, like, I did a lot of the hosting stuff and the presenting stuff, and I think that has a specific energy that aligns with reporting.
That poised,
so,
sure.
Yeah. I
think this one, I do have a clip. Is it? Oh yeah, this Chicago Med. This is a reporter, I believe.
Knowledge of the alleged fraud scheme.
That it was the work of their rep, Jesse Rinaldi. Does government even have a case?
Listen, I have no comment.
Affected by the bad
You've been named in any of these suits?
I said no comment.
Excuse me for a second. Excuse me.
And that actually, you shoot in Chicago for that, right? Or is that?
Yeah.
So do you travel, or do you work in the whole country? Do you go to the South, Oklahoma, you said?
Yeah. Wherever the work is, I just feel like, you know, there isn't a ton of work. And I will work wherever they want me to come. So
do you have agents in different markets, or do you audition for these from LA? And
oh yeah, both. And I, you know, like we talked about, my family lives in Illinois still. Yeah. And so whatever. And my husband works for the Chicago White Sox. So cool. You know, we're there all the time. And so I have, you know, an Illinois agent, and I'm always available for anything there.
Your local hire to there. So
local hire.
I get that. I do that too, because it, like you said, it leads to more opportunities, and each opportunity is the building block to the next.
Absolutely.
Now, speaking of that, with these opportunities in, say, the Chicago Med, Chicago PD, did you find that getting those credits? I think it really started with NCIS New Orleans, which was maybe your first big network show.
Yeah.
If I understand correctly. Did getting that credit on your resume, did you feel that gave you a little bit of leverage to these next being trusted?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that like the NCIS was a pretty great scene. It was a few pages. And I think that really helped, you know, with, you know, getting new agents also, you know, with my reel. So I had that footage to kind of like,
that matters.
Yeah, definitely. And so just give me a little bit more. And so every little bit, everything that I've done along the way has contributed to, you know, just feeling more qualified and appearing more qualified.
And the imposter syndrome will still continue to come back, but
yeah, I think so.
You built a worthy foundation of jobs and opportunities to get you to where you are.
Thank you.
Now, given that, where do you want to go? What is your end game? Do you have an end game, or what's your dream opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, I think about this all the time, and I think it's a mix. I think it's a mix of both films. Like I love doing films that, you know, just a few months of your time, you know, and then also I would love to have a more consistent job on a TV series.
That's the dream.
It's the dream. You want to have a home. You want to have a, you know, stable check coming in.
No, exactly. I get it. And just to have that, a home, like you said, the family, be a part of the family that gets to do it every week, and let it just be a job.
Let it be a job. Yeah. And so ideally I would love to, you know, be on a show and then also work on films, you know, in the off season of my show. So
do Bikeriders too.
Bikeriders too.
Right.
Yeah. I think.
Do you have a preference of film versus TV? I mean, I know TV tends to be a lot of the work, but would you rather be on a movie set or a TV set? And this will not stop opportunities for her.
Yeah. Like if I had to pick one, I really like movies. If I had to pick, if I could have consistency in movies, you know, that's the one. It's like you get one movie, you don't know when the next movie's coming. But if you're on a TV show, like at least you know that it's hard because
it gets renewed.
Exactly. So, but I think the one thing about TV is like TV is getting so good now, and they can really develop the characters. So I'm really enjoying, you know, some of the TV shows that they have coming out now. But I still really like movies. It's hard.
I do it because I love movies. Movies are my love.
Yeah, I
That's
love
why
movies.
I am an actor.
So you'd be on movies then.
Yeah, if I could. I mean, I get a lot more TV opportunities, but if I had a choice to only work in one, it would be movies for sure.
Yeah.
It's there's so much more freedom too, I find. And just it's stuff I'd want to watch. No offense to the TV shows I've worked on.
Yeah.
But I don't watch TV really.
Oh, you don't?
Don't. Before an opportunity, I'll delve into something to kind of get an idea of the tone. But yeah, I'll watch stuff my wife forces me to. Yeah. Do you have a preference between studio projects versus indie projects?
I love studio projects. I know like a lot of people like indie projects, and I like them too, but I think studio projects are just, you know, especially working on like Captain America, like it is.
Oh yeah.
It is such a sight to be on a huge set with
Harrison Ford.
Yeah, with like Harrison Ford and like just it really just, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to explain. It's breathtaking to be on these sets.
There you are. I haven't seen the film, but you are in the White House, is my understanding.
Yeah. I'm a presidential aide.
Oh, how cool was that? Was it so cool?
It was so cool. And you know, Marvel's been, it was definitely like on my like dream, you know, list of projects to work on. And it was really interesting because when I auditioned for it, I auditioned for like an officer or like, you know, one of those like kind of like a guard. I think it might've been a guard.
Yeah.
It was a few pages and I was like, I'm 5'2". Like, I don't know why they are having me audition for it, but I still, you know, I still gave it my all. And they just offered me the presidential aide role. So I thought that was really.
Were you like, no, I don't want it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
forget you.
Not. But I was like, I didn't audition for this. I auditioned for a different role. And they're like,
you should have been like, if I don't get what Harrison Ford gets, I'm out of here.
Yeah, exactly. But that was cool. I think that was a nice lesson because I think that a lot of actors, you know, they'll get an audition and they'll see it and they're like, this isn't me. Like, I don't, you know, they might decline it, or they might not really put in a lot of effort into the audition because they're like, I'm not going to get this anyway. And I'm so glad that I didn't do any of those things because, you know, I wouldn't have been offered a different role.
And it's about winning the room, winning casting. You want them to know that you know, you give it your all, you do your best. I mean, I've had those too where I'm like, I'm so not right for this, but they asked for me, so I'll do it. And then I end up booking them. I'm like, okay.
That's happened to me too. And I'm really surprised, like sometimes where I'm like, oh, okay. Like there was I think a movie called Cabin Girl. And it was a realtor, but the breakdown said 50s Caucasian female.
That's not you.
With curly hair.
You're like, okay, sure.
Well, I mean, I'll give it a try. And they got booked for it. And then the writer, she came up to me and she said, hey, you know, when we wrote this role, we didn't see you, like, we didn't think of you for it. But when we saw your audition, we didn't think anybody else could do it.
That's really cool. That says a lot about you. You got them to think outside the box and won you ultimately.
So I've always kind of gone into like, okay, like I've kind of always been maybe the wild card going into roles. So every time I go in, I never kind of like try to cast myself out of it going forward after like these things.
That's great. And, you know, talking to Mike, because I had Mike Toe on the show, and he talked a lot about representation and how important it is to, you know, take some sort of responsibility with the roles that you accept, because you are leading the way, you know, breaking down some doors and glass roofs or whatever. Do you find that same sort of responsibility, or you just say, I'm doing a job? How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I do. I think there are some roles that I've gotten where I kind of like don't really feel like I don't do nudity. So that's kind of like one thing where I'm kind of like, not for me. Yeah. And that's okay, you know? And I think other people, if they're cool with it, and also I know Michael talks about some of the you know, the roles that he gets he feels could be written as like caricatures or could feel offensive.
As it used to be more so, obviously, back in not too long ago.
Yes, and I remember I did get an audition a while back, and I forget the role, but it was something. And then the casting director was like, "Well, can you do it now with an Asian accent?" And I was like, "My Asian accent's really bad, so
You're like, I'm American.
Yeah,
just as American as you.
Yeah, so for me, I know other people could do it better, and so I just don't do those roles, and I don't think that I'm not the first choice for those roles. So I just, I don't really go for those things.
Do you, so in regards to accents, because I know Mike does take opportunities that do require him to have an accent.
Yeah.
He too, like you, is as American as can be. But obviously he has family that there's family in his, that speaks other languages and stuff. So do you find that you want to have that in your toolbox to maybe win other opportunities, an accent that you feel comfortable with? Or you're like, no, I don't want that because that's not me?
No, I tried recently there was like The Sympathizer that came out, and I had an audition for it, and there was like a couple things where, and if I feel like I really like the role and I want to go for it, I work with a couple friends, or I'll work, with some family members to help me with my Vietnamese or with my accent. So I will try. I'll give it my best go. But I also know, like, some people, it's so easy for them.
Natural and
it's so natural for them. I've never been booked for it. I doesn't mean I haven't tried, but I just haven't been booked for those.
Yeah. I haven't been booked for those either. I had one where they wanted me to speak with either a Dutch or German accent. I'm like, I'll fake it. I don't know what, I think I sounded like I had a Boston, New York accent. I don't know what it sounded like. But,
yeah. There was one, I think there was one I did, if it's like a line or two, actually, that show Two Sides, there was a little bit of Mandarin. There was maybe like 6 or 7 lines of Mandarin, and one of the actors on set, he helped me with it, and he did the voice notes. I'm not Chinese, but he did the voice notes for me in Mandarin, and I practiced it and I did it. So if it's a few lines, like, I could do it. But it was pretty hard. I will say it was pretty hard.
No, I can only imagine. I've heard Mike trying to do it. I think he does it well. But you are your family's of Vietnamese descent?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so do you find, and I don't mean to harp on this, but do you find it offensive when they ask you to play other Asian regions or other,
I'm not offended by it. I feel like, one, there's just not enough roles to strictly be Vietnamese, which it's interesting because the bike riders, it was specifically a Vietnamese,
because she's a real person.
She was a real person, yeah, and she was Vietnamese. So I thought that was like wow, like crazy.
That's nice and
authentic. It never happens, but I'm not offended by it. I feel like there's just not a ton of roles where I can really make that stance, and also there's so many Caucasian people that are playing Italian, that are,
True.
Everybody's playing all these other roles too. So why can't we play other Asian roles?
Absolutely.
That
makes sense. Now, because you just mentioned it, Gail, your character in The Bikeriders, was a real person.
She was a real person. Yeah.
Did you look like her? Did you research her? Was that important to you or to Jeff Nichols?
Yeah, I did. They did give me some pictures of her. And so I thought that was really cool. Some pictures of her and Brucey, her boyfriend. And so that was really cool. I tried to find some things. I tried to find as much as I could. But I didn't find a ton about her, but the stuff that I did, I loved seeing. So it was really cool.
Is she still alive?
I don't know if she's still, I actually tried to find that, but I couldn't find an answer for that. So
did you but did you find that you actually look like her in real life?
I don't think I look like her. Like, okay. Are we both Asian? Do we have, black hair?
Yeah.
I think I don't think I am like a spit image of her or anything like that. Like, I don't think so. But other people might say that,
I don't know her, so whatever.
Yeah.
Is there a cherished moment from a project that means so much to you that if you could drop all your other opportunities you've had, every other moment in this business, is there one that means the most to you?
Yeah, there was one, and this is actually is in line with kind of the no spoil rule. The
kiss and tell.
Kiss and tell.
Well, then tell it.
Yeah, the kiss and tell, the memorable, and I can't say what project it is, but I recently worked on a project in Spain, and this creator, I had actually worked on one of his like really iconic shows like several years ago, but it was a small role. I think I had a few lines. He wasn't
in the previous project.
In the previous project.
Can you say what that was, or
I don't want to say what that. Okay. I can tell you afterwards because it'll give away what I'm working on now.
Okay.
What I'm working on now is like kind of top secret.
I gotcha. NDAs.
Yeah, I know. So, but yeah, I did that one. Forgot about it. Whatever. But he directed the first 2 episodes of the show that I worked on recently. And, he's also the creator of this show. And when I was on set this time around, he came up to me and he was like, hey, like you were on my other show. And and so he remembered me, even though we never met on the other production.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. But he was like, I remember, we actually went back. I think it might've been casting that told him that I was in the other show, but they went back to my episode on the first show that I was on to watch my.
What was the name of that show again? No, don't get okay. I don't want to get you in trouble. But what was the name?
I'll tell you after.
After, haha.
Yeah, I'll tell you after. But yeah, I guess one of the producers told me, yeah, we went back to your episode and rewatched it.
Oh my god!
And then they booked me for this role. So
that is so cool.
Yeah, and when and it was a couple times that he brought it up too. He brought it up like that time, and then another time we were in a group at I think our rap party, and he was like, "Did you tell everybody else that you were on my other show?"
So it was nice.
I know, it was so nice, and he didn't have to do that, but it really made me feel special, and it really emphasized that there are no small roles because you are memorable and can be brought back. That's
great. You left an impression, and that it's so nice that because we often don't find out why we get another opportunity or why you get any opportunity. So it's nice that you were told about this.
Yeah, and there were 2 completely different roles. They weren't like the same type of role.
Yeah.
I found that to be really, really interesting too. It wasn't like, oh, she played a reporter, so we're going to keep her for another reporter. Like they were 2 completely different vibes. So
what is this new role?
Oh,
I'm going to stop. I don't want to get you in trouble.
But you're good.
That's really cool. That's awesome. So I'll bring it to when you are about to head onto set, you're in your trailer or whatnot, you're in your car, wherever you're hanging out before they call you to set. Do you have any hocus pocus, anything that you do to focus or to get in the zone to perform?
I just make sure that I have enough food because I get really hungry.
No, that makes sense.
I just make sure that I have enough, that I'm hydrated. I have enough energy, that I have a charger for my phone. So nothing really crazy. I just make sure I'm prepared, that I have my lines ready, and I have everything that I need to get through the long day, because it's usually when if my phone's dying, it gives me anxiety. If I haven't eaten enough, then I don't feel right. So I just want to make sure, anything that I can do.
But then you don't want to be too hydrated, because then right when they're like, okay, action, you're like, I got to use the restroom.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a balance.
That's a balance. Yes, for sure.
Okay. Those are important. I think I'm very much the same way. Sometimes it's hard when you sit in that trailer for hours and hours. They're like, we're going to get to your scene. Oh, wait, after this, we're in 10 minutes. And then you're like, an hour passed, 2 hours. You're like, oh, we have this delay. The rain's coming in. Oh. Do you struggle dealing with that kind of thing? Or you like try to stay zen?
I try to stay zen. That actually happened to me last year on a film. And it was an overnight shoot.
Yeah.
And so I think we started at, it was like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And they had me not in my trailer. They brought me to set because I think they thought I was going to be maybe the second shot of the night. And they ended up changing things around. I ended up being the last shot of the night. We shot my scene at 5 a.m.
That's so hard.
So hard.
I'm not human like that.
It was hard. It was hard, but I tried to stay in good spirits. I tried to keep my energy, but it was really tough. And I think that I could have even. It's just so hard when you don't have that sleep because because of that I felt like I left thinking I could have done more, or I could have, because on this particular shoot we were able to improv a lot. And so like I had ideas and I did a couple things, but it's always when you're leaving that you're like,
all the time. All the time.
Tried that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That time I worked with Michael Shannon, I had a morning call. It was like an 11 a.m. call. And we didn't get to that. They're like, it was maybe around 9 p.m. They're like, okay, we're going to wrap everyone. We'll come back tomorrow or whatever. But I guess they decided, we don't have that in the budget. So we ended up shooting at 2 a.m. This scene that I had with Michael Shannon, I was a zombie. Yeah. I couldn't function. So, and I mean, Jessica Chastain's in this scene and she's just like, as if it's, 9 a.m. in the morning. She's totally fine. Right. And went on to win the Oscar later that day after being awake at 2 a.m. But I was just like, I can't function like that. And I know it's the job, but I have to be honest. If I'm up all night, don't hire me for a night job.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've tried to prepare like the night before. I tried to sleep in as much as, you try to push your sleep schedule so you can make it up. So it's not like we don't try, but
no, sure. Yeah. But you're human. Like normally you'd be asleep. You would have slept and been refreshed. But of course, though I do want to work on horror movies, so hire me for lots of horror movies and I'll work all night. Lastly, do you have any advice? You've given some advice, but anything you wish you had known coming up in the business that you would like to share?
I think for me, I guess I think for me, it would have been and I started doing it after a little bit of time, but some people, and I know a lot of people, they wait until they feel like they're like at 100% to maybe try something new, or like, and so for me, if you have like the urge to do something, just do it. And if you're bad at it, like, that's okay. Like I always kind of felt like I needed to make sure that I felt really like 100% confident before I went for something. And now I don't do that, but I feel like had I just kind of gone for things a lot earlier and maybe just struggled but been comfortable struggling and improving, I would have accelerated a lot faster. But I tried to wait until, until I felt ready when a lot of times, like, you don't have to feel ready, just go for it.
Totally agree. Like my sister-in-law said, and I think she got the quote from someone else, jump and the net will appear.
Yes.
Just go for it. And I've had opportunities where I was terrified of them. And I was like, I hope I get COVID because I don't think I can do this. And then I end up not getting COVID. So I do the job and I'm like, oh my gosh, I did pretty well with that.
Yeah.
So
you're a lot better than you think you are.
I think being scared actually helps.
Yeah. And I think that we are like so much more highly critical of ourselves that like, even though we think that we are at 15%, like we're really a lot better than we initially think we are.
I think it's that imposter syndrome again, really? Right? It gets every time. Thank you for your time, Phuong. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Is there anything that you would like to promote or talk about that's coming up? Reveal any names, break any NDAs that you would like to tell us?
Yeah, I think I can talk about, there's a film called Eeny Meeny, and it's the one that I recently talked about like the overnight shoot, but that releases on Hulu in August. Okay. And I have some really hilarious scenes. I don't do a ton of comedies, so like this is what I'm excited about.
Yeah.
But yeah, my scene partner a lot is Marshawn Lynch. Like we're kind of like a duo. In this,
what's the name again?
Marshawn Lynch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and he's hilarious. But like there's a lot of people. I think Randall Park is in it. Steve Zane is in it. But there's a lot of.
He was my brother in that movie at 2 a.m.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're all connected. It's such a small,
It is a small community. Yeah.
Yeah. So that film will be out. So I'd love to promote that. I hope you guys watch it.
Eeny meeny.
Eeny meeny. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. And I'm sorry, you said that's coming to where? Hulu. Okay, cool. We'll keep an eye out for that. Well, thank you so much for your time. Anything else you want to say or share, or just call it a day?
I think that's it. I don't think I have anything else for you.
No, you're awesome. Thank you so much. Stick around for a second. Everyone else, goodbye. Check out Phuong Kubacki's work on IMDb. Like I said, there's 8 bazillion more credits. And please like, share, and tell your friends. But thank you for tuning in. And thank you, Phuong, once again. And I'm going to hit our beautiful exit song.